My birth mom sorted out my birthday party around her stepdaughter's favorite pastimes, and I laughed in her face when I was 6. My parents divorced and went their own ways, and they both started new families, although they obviously shared custody of me. My mom married a man, let's call him Robert. When I was 9, he already had a daughter, Kira, who was 2 years my senior. When I was 8, my dad proposed to Lila, a lovely woman, and they got married when I was 12. Lila and I have always been close. She's basically been a real mother to me, helping my dad raise me and showing. She was a real mother to me. She looked after me, she was there for me, she talked to me, we had things in common, we did all sorts of activities together. And she even talked about legally adopting me when I grew up because my parents shared custody, which might be a bit tricky now legally, but I wanted to do it formally because she is my real mother. I hardly have any relationship with my birth mother. I was made to spend some days with her, but we were never able to connect because Kira already had her own mother, who devoted all of her time to showing her love and care. Kira was always involved in, even when my mom tried to get me involved, we only did things that she enjoyed. I started turning down her invites and often asked if I could skip seeing her on the set days. I preferred to stay at home with my dad and Lila because I was pretty much always left out or ignored. Even when my mom tried to include me, I only did things that she enjoyed. I started turning down her invites and often asked if I could skip seeing her on the days I preferred to stay at home with my dad and Lila, because I was almost always disregarded or left out. He had to follow the judge's guidelines, though. As I grew older, my dad made more of an effort to understand me. He acknowledged that he was worried that if he let me skip the visits, my mom might take some nasty legal action. My mom was probably going to do this. I didn't want to cause my dad any trouble. After hearing this, I stopped asking for things like that and stuck to the timetable. Now my 18th birthday is in 2 weeks. Luckily, it falls on the days I'm supposed to be with my dad. So, a month ago, Lila and I started organizing my birthday. Nothing too fancy, just a relaxed evening with loved ones at my favorite pizza place. I can enjoy myself and the people I care about. I like singing, and the place has karaoke. We invited everyone, including my mother, after making reservations and organizing. Honestly, I didn't really want her there, but I thought that, since I won't be bound by the judge's regulations once I turn 18, this might be the only time I had to include her to finalize the guest list for the pizza place. We sent out the invites 2 days ago and have already received. Honestly, I didn't really want her there, but I thought that, since I won't be bound by the judge's regulations once I turn 18, this might be the only time I had to include her to finalize the guest list for the pizza place. We sent out the invites 2 days ago and have already received the majority of responses. My mother was the only one who hadn't replied. I told my dad that I wouldn't press the issue because I was okay with her not wanting to come if she didn't reply, although he didn't express it publicly. I believe my dad was also a little relieved. This afternoon was when the drama began. My mom had a go at me on the phone this afternoon, saying I was being immature and that I should never make plans without telling her first, which is fair enough. But she often forgets my birthday, so it's a bit hypocritical of her to complain now. I told her I've always planned my birthdays with Dad and Lila, and she got really annoyed. She was livid, claiming Kira had been crying ever since she saw the invite and started attacking me. Apparently, Kira had already organized a whole birthday party for me. I couldn't speak. There's no relationship between Kira and me. She's the ultimate pampered brat who craves attention, and I was so angry when I saw the invitation that Kira had organized a whole birthday party for me. I couldn't believe it. There's no relationship between Kira and me. She's the perfect pampered brat who craves attention, and my mother has always encouraged this behavior, which has made it worse. We've never had a good relationship. I just don't get why Kira would want to plant a birthday celebration for me. It was illogical. She didn't tell me why she did it, so I asked her. She didn't really expect me to have no plans for my 18th birthday, did she? She said it was meant to be a surprise, and that she thought I didn't want to do anything for my birthday because I hadn't told her what I was doing. She could have just asked. The thing that made me lose my temper was about to happen, and I think it was an attempt to make me feel bad about what I would have missed. My mother started to list everything Kira had arranged for my party. Kira's favorite hobby was everything, even the things I didn't enjoy. For example, she had made lunch reservations at a fish restaurant, which I avoid eating because it makes me sick, not because I'm impulsive, even though I've had it checked. My body just rejects it. I'm not allergic. She also organized an afternoon event at a horseback riding ranch close to the city where my mom currently lives. Horses don't appeal to me. I'm afraid of riding them or being around something that large, but it's not that I just don't like them as creatures. The last plan was to go back to my mom's house for a barbecue in the backyard. I just didn't want to see my mother more than was absolutely necessary. Also, my mom said the invitations had already been sent out. I was stunned at this point, since none of my friends, my dad or his family had received anything that I had to ask who they'd sent them to. Turns out most of the people on the guest list were Kura's friends. Robert's family and my mother's family. Kura had basically planned a party for herself under the guise of celebrating my birthday. I couldn't contain myself any longer. I hung up the phone after laughing in my mother's face. The whole thing was just too absurd to be real. After a little while, my dad approached me and told me that my mom had phoned him because I had made fun of her. He became agitated and began telling me that they were attempting to be. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I hung up the phone after laughing in my mother's face. The whole thing was just too ridiculous to be true. After a bit, my dad came up to me and told me that my mom had phoned him because I'd made fun of her. He got all wound up and started telling me that they were trying to be kind for once. Whatever I thought about my mom, I immediately stopped him and gave him the party details, which my mom had apparently forgotten. His face changed really quickly. I'd been listening to him raging at my mom for the past 20 minutes or so, and he just said, "I'm going to make a phone call." When Lila, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of feeling a bit annoyed with my mother at the time, but I stopped him and gave him the party details, which he'd apparently forgotten. He went from fuming to livid in no time at all. I'd been listening to him yell at my mother for the last 20 minutes or so, and he said he was going to call Lila when she got home. She heard about the issue, came to me, agreed with me, but said that laughing in my mother's face and hanging up wasn't the best way to react. She wasn't upset, but she was a bit disappointed that I hadn't handled it more politely. I thought about what I'd done after she'd gone. I don't think talking to my mother would have helped, but maybe I was a bit harsh. I could have handled it better, though I'm starting to think I was a bit of a jerk at the time. But honestly, what did she expect? That I'd just bow down and take the scraps that were thrown? I don't think talking to my mother would have helped, but maybe I was a bit harsh. I could have handled it better though. I'm starting to think I was a bit of a jerk at the time. To be honest, what did she expect? That I'd just bow down and take the scraps that were thrown? To me, she wasn't thinking at all. As usual, she was just following Kira's lead. The problem is that people like that depend on others to comply without protest. They can't cope with the inevitable counterattack. Was I able to be more courteous? Yes, most likely. Was my response entirely warranted? To any random internet user reading this, I'm proud that I stuck up for myself. I've got a strong bond with my dad and stepmom, and I'm really proud of myself for not giving in to my mom's nonsense. I hope you have a great birthday. What about my mom? If I decide to stop, I'm really proud of how I defended myself. I've got a strong bond with my dad and stepmom, and I'm proud of myself for not giving in to my mom's nonsense. I hope you have a great birthday. What if I stop communicating with her after my birthday? She's going to have a terrible awakening, to be honest. It's good for everyone. I get Lila's point of view, but there's no reason to hold back if your parents don't accept you at almost 18. I first talked to Lila about how I'd respond to my mom. Lila has always said how important communication is, and has urged me to talk about my issues to find solutions. I understood the context of what she was saying about my actions, but I also told her that I was laughing because it was the only natural response I had to the situation with my mom. I was trying to explain what was so ridiculous about it. For a moment, I even thought maybe this was a joke or some kind of prank. Was she making this up because what she said was so stupid? Even though she agreed with me, Lila told me that sometimes in life you can't just laugh it off. I was trying to work out if this was a joke or some kind of prank. I mean, she was so ridiculous, it was hard to believe. Lila said there would be times in life when I couldn't just laugh it off and end the call. She was worried about how I'd react and wanted to teach me to deal with it in the future. I'm glad we talked it through and sorted it. I also talked about my dad's phone call with my mom. She had a reason for everything she said. That Kira wanted to share her love of horseback riding with me. That she wanted to make a nice gesture on my special day. And that she didn't think my dislike of fish was a serious problem, just a whim. She even defended the fish restaurant by claiming that the fish they provided was the best in town. I threw up multiple times in front of her as a child just because I was around areas that smelled strongly of fish. So that last excuse was a flagrant lie. She is well aware that I have a serious problem with it. Father said that Kira had obviously arranged the celebration for herself, and that nothing they had prepared. I rewrote the text to be more polite. He said that if none of my other halves were invited, it wasn't a party for me. Instead of reacting to this, my mother started to complain about how pampered and ungrateful I was. My dad then hung up the phone and told her to go to hell. I took another piece of advice from all of you. After hearing this, I wrote a letter to my mother. I decided to be mature this time and write it as politely as I could. I said I was sorry for laughing, but I explained that my only natural response to what she said was to laugh since it was so absurd. I reminded her that she doesn't know me at all. She never really tried to get to know me or make an effort to be my friend. I told her they could enjoy the birthday celebration with their family and friends because it was full of things that Kira liked. I also said her actions made it clear what her priorities were. I told her I didn't want her at my pizza party, and that I didn't need her there. I said I was happy with Lila as my mother, and that I didn't need her. I told her not to contact me again and wished her well. I don't mind that she didn't reply. After reading the message, she would have likely complained more about how spoiled and ungrateful I am. If she had responded, she either doesn't understand or acts as though she doesn't, so there's no point in talking to her. But I feel more at peace now that I've made my feelings clear. I'm glad to put this situation behind me. I'm grateful to everyone for helping me and pointing out that a definitive conclusion was needed. My dad asked my mom how she could have thrown me a surprise party when I wasn't there. He also asked how she could have thought that he wouldn't celebrate my 18th birthday. This whole thing is finally over. I'm really grateful to everyone for helping me out and making sure we got a proper conclusion. My dad was like, "How could she throw me a surprise party when I wasn't even there?" He also said how she thought he wouldn't celebrate my 18th birthday. She said that Robert had plans to pick me up on the morning of my birthday, but my dad took it personally, lol. They were planning to take me to my mom's and explain everything to Dad and Lila. To be honest, I have no idea how they thought this would work. I mean, what reason did they come up with? I would have flatly refused to visit my mom's house if it hadn't been her planned day. Above all, I would never have left Lila and Dad to celebrate my 18th birthday at my mother's house. A positive relationship between my mother and I would have been one thing, but that was certainly not the case. Not the case. Robert is the only one I don't feel like blaming in all of this, even though we were never close. He was always courteous to me when we shared a home, and when I went to my mother's house, he even cleared out his study to give me a permanent place. I don't blame him for anything because I don't feel like blaming Robert. He was always nice to me. Even though we weren't close, he was always polite when we lived together. When I went to my mom's, he even cleared out his study so I had a permanent place there. I don't blame him for anything because he always tried to be nice to me. He probably sincerely believes that the party is for me. We aren't close enough for him to understand my preferences unless my mom told him, which I doubt she did. Luckily, nothing of mine was left at my mom's place. He was being nice to me, but we weren't close enough for him to understand my preferences unless my mother told him, which I doubt she did. Luckily, nothing of mine was left at my mother's place. I keep all of my stuff at my dad's house. When I went to my mother's, I would usually fill my bag with the things I needed for the day and bring them back when I went to my dad's. I never felt comfortable leaving anything with her because Kira's friends and Robert's family often visited. I didn't want my stuff out in the open for people to see. That's about all I can say for now. I hope my mom respects my decision to stop talking to me and stops bothering me. After the holidays, I want to talk to Leia about the adoption. When we first talked about it, she seemed really happy. Thanks again for all the kind words and support. Your advice has really helped me improve how I deal with things, even though I know I'm still a bit of a work in progress. This experience has definitely made me grow and see things from different perspectives. Best of luck to you. I'd like to thank you all again for your help and kind words. Your advice has really helped me to improve how I deal with things, even though I know I'm still a bit of a novice. I think this experience has allowed me to grow and see the problem from different angles. I did think about getting in touch with Robert, but I don't have his phone number. Most of our meetings were just friendly chats, so we never felt the need to stay in touch. The last time I left my mom's, I think Robert and I said our goodbyes for good, because I don't have Kira's number either. I don't spend much time. I don't see my mother's relatives much, that I've only seen my uncle a few times over the holidays when I'm spending time with my mother, because he and his family live a few hours away. Every time we met, it was short and far away that I only have friendly interactions with them. I only talk to my grandmother and aunt. They've given me money for my birthday using my dad's card, and we send each other holiday greetings, but that's about it. Even when we've met, our conversations have been informal and we've just been chatting about our lives. They haven't texted me since the incident with. I've been in touch with my grandmother and aunt. They've given me money as birthday presents using my father's card, and we send each other holiday pleasantries, but that's about it. Even when we've met, our discussions have been informal and have only been exchanging life updates. They haven't texted me since the incident with my mother, and I didn't ask any of them until my 18th birthday. I think they simply don't care. Now let's move on to the second tale. Before anyone told me directly, my wife's friend's Instagram account revealed our pregnancy, causing a flurry of activity and tears. She is 27 and I am 29. We both hail from the same. I didn't ask any of them until my 18th birthday. I think they just don't care. Before anyone told me directly, my wife's friend's Instagram revealed our pregnancy, which caused a bit of a stir. She's 27 and I'm 29. We're both from the same hometown, but we live in different cities now. We've been dating for 4 years and married for 2. Because of work, I stayed behind while she went to a family gathering in our hometown. It finally happened after 3 months of trying to get pregnant. The way I found out is the issue in our group conversation. My friend thanked me by sharing a screenshot of an Instagram story that one of my wife's friends had shared. The caption on the photo, which included my wife sobbing and embracing a few of her pals, was "You're going to be the best mom." I immediately contacted her, and she picked up right away saying I have. So my friend thanked me by sharing a screenshot of an Instagram story that one of my wife's friends had shared. The caption on the photo, which included my wife sobbing and embracing a few of her pals, was, "You're going to be the best mom." I immediately contacted her and she picked up right away saying, "I have news, babe." I only said, "I know you're pregnant." "Wow, babe. How did you know?" I simply answered, "I saw it on Instagram." Didn't think to give me a call first. She asked, "What did she ask?" I said, "Yeah, but your friends posted something I didn't. That's one way to know I'll become a father." I said, "Thank you," and hung up. I was enraged. She kept on calling, but I didn't pick up until my sister had to come to my in-laws' house, where there was a lot of fighting and panicking, and my wife was in her room. My sister asked me what was going on, and I told her what had happened. She said there was no way she would do that. I was called a bunch of times, but I didn't pick up until my sister called. She just got to my in-laws, where there was a right row going on and everyone was panicking. My wife was stuck in her room, so she asked me what was going on. I told her what had happened, and she said there was no way she would do that. Well, she did. I said my sister promised to look into it. She gave me a call a little while later and gave me all the details. I'd calmed down by then and thought it was just some mate who decided to post without asking. But my sister gave me the lowdown. My wife was apparently having a late period when she was visiting a friend. They asked her if she was pregnant and she said yes. They bought loads of pregnancy tests, all of which were positive. They emailed some local mates to invite them over. After getting worried and telling her parents, just 2 hours had gone. So, between when she found out and when her mate shared the info on Insta, she told 10 or more people. Just to be clear, when my sister came over, she told me the other friends were angry with the person who had posted on. So, between when she found out and when she put it on Insta, she told Tan, and then she told a bunch of other people too. When my sister came over, she was like, "My friends were so mad at the person who posted on Insta. They thought it was just so awful. But they were also confused about why my wife hadn't told me earlier." When I finally got in touch with my wife, she was crying. She said sorry and explained that she hadn't told me yet, because she was getting ready to surprise me. So on Instagram, loads of people were like, "What the hell was she thinking? And how could she do that to us?" But they were also kind of confused because my wife hadn't told me earlier when I finally got in touch with her. She was in tears, saying sorry and explaining that she hadn't told me yet, because she was getting ready to surprise me. I wasn't sure about it though, and said that if she really wanted to surprise me, she wouldn't have been ready to tell me right away. I said I needed some time to think about it, and then she just went silent. Then she shouted that we needed to talk about it, and that I couldn't just leave. "Why do we need to talk?" I said, "So you can lie again," and ended the call. I've had loads of messages, but I'm really tired. That I'm exhausted by this. I don't know why that I'm not a crier, so it's weird for me to cry at random. That I feel like I've been hit by a truck, but this shouldn't be a big problem. Hey, I know. This sucks and it was really not great of her. But don't let this ruin it for you. My sister sent me this message and it really stuck. "You will become a father. You will make a fantastic father. This is fantastic. The knowledge that I will soon become a father is the only thing that keeps me going at the moment. This is what I've always dreamed of, being a dad, and I just want the baby to be okay so my wife won't get too upset during the pregnancy. I'll probably just put on a brave face, but tomorrow I'll probably do it. I'm just going to pout tonight." Edit. I didn't really think about posting this on Reddit, but when I've been dreaming of this and I really want the baby to be okay, so that my wife doesn't get too upset during the pregnancy, I'll probably just put on a brave face and act like nothing's wrong. But tomorrow I'll probably have a real meltdown. I didn't think it was worth posting on Reddit, but when I woke up this morning I saw thousands of comments and dozens of direct messages. I really appreciate your concern, but I just want to make a few things clear. Is there a chance the baby isn't mine? No way. Classic Reddit LOL. She works from home, but that's not possible because our house has home security cameras. I've had a lot of comments and messages about the baby. I really appreciate the concern, but I just want to clear up a few things. Is it possible that the baby is not mine? No way. Classic Reddit LOL. She works from home, but that's not possible because our house has home security cameras. She doesn't go out for girls' nights. I work with a female colleague who's her best friend in the city where we live. The three of us often hang out. They rarely spend time together in person, but they frequently text each other. If they do, I'll be in the room next to us at our house. The clingiest. My wife is the clingiest person I know. She texts me every 30 minutes while I'm at work, and she's usually in the same room as me or cuddling up to me when I'm at home. She even holds my hand or arm when we're out most of the time. I genuinely enjoy it and feel appreciated, but it could be excessive. I even asked whether the argument my wife is the person on the planet I'm closest to. She texts me every 30 minutes while I'm at work. She's usually in the same room as me or cuddling up to me when I'm at home. She holds my hand or arm when we're out most of the time. I genuinely enjoy it and feel appreciated. However, it could be excessive. I even asked whether the argument we had weeks ago was the reason she didn't inform me straight away. However, it most likely isn't regarding her friends. They are all really kind individuals and they've been in my life for a while. Some of the people in my sister's friend group have known each other since they were 12 years old. The only person who lives in a distant city is my wife. When she's in town, they always spend a lot of time together. That I can't stress enough how completely out of character this is for her. Like everyone else, she has numerous shortcomings, but being careless is not one of them. She wouldn't intentionally do this, which is why I woke up in the middle of the night with the thought that I could be mistaken. No way. I texted her to let her know that everything was good and that I would make the 4-hour drive down there to speak with her. In fact, she asked if she might call when she was awake. After doing so, she expressed her desire to return home. I informed her that I would be picking her up. Are we all right? She questioned. She broke down in tears as I told her yes, but that we'd have to talk about it first. She seemed a bit calmer after that. Update 1. Hi there. Now that things have calmed down, I'm here to give you an update. I think I have all the facts. My wife was waiting for me on the sidewalk when I got to my in-laws' house. My wife met me on the steps and immediately apologized, saying she was sorry, and then gave me a big hug. Before we spoke, I told her I was really tired and wanted to nap. When we got to her room, we cuddled on the bed. When we woke up, we just kept talking and I asked her what. When we got to her room, we held each other while we slept. When we woke up, our conversation felt like a never-ending cycle. I asked her what had happened, and she said she was foolish to blame. She insisted that, since she had ruined a significant event in our lives, it didn't matter what had happened. She simply reiterated that she made a mistake and that nothing else mattered. When I persisted in inquiring, she finally admitted that she didn't want to make excuses for me, and that she said that she was sorry and that nothing else mattered. When I kept asking, she finally admitted that she didn't want to make excuses for me, and that accepting responsibility and offering an apology was the right thing to do. After a while, I gave in and told her that everything was okay, and that she was forgiven. But I wanted to speak with her friend, who had spent the entire day with her and purchased the pregnancy test for her. According to the friend's account, they freaked out. I decided to take responsibility and apologize. After a while, I told her that everything was okay and she was forgiven. But I wanted to speak with her friend, who had spent the whole day with her and bought the pregnancy test for her. According to the friend's story, they freaked out for an hour and discussed how to surprise or tell me when my wife had tested positive. When my mother-in-law finally got home, they all told her to talk about how to inform me. They had decided to bring a few girlfriends with them. The friend discussed all of their opinions and I completely agree with her. She added that the group had discussed it. I didn't know about that. They also said they should all be silent since we hadn't decided when to tell people. It seems that the girl who shared it on Instagram did it on purpose. At the time, they were even talking about how to tell me, even though she had been told not to speak when she uploaded. I had no idea that they were supposed to be silent because we hadn't decided on a time to make the announcement. It seems that the girl who shared it on Instagram did it on purpose. At that time, they were even talking about ways to tell me with her there, even though she had been told not to speak when she uploaded the photo. Another friend had just arrived and was informed of the situation. She immediately decided to publish about it for whatever reason. She first said she was unaware that she wasn't allowed to post it when they approached her. After maintaining that falsehood for some time, she just told everyone she didn't care and walked away. We haven't heard from her since. She blocked everyone in the group. Whether she was jealous of my wife or something else, no one knows why she did it. Right now, we don't care. We too have her blocked and we don't want to communicate with her. The friend's account was later verified by my sister. She thought my wife had just told everyone and I haven't heard a thing from her since she blocked everyone in the group. I don't know if she was jealous of my wife or something else. At the moment, we don't care. We've also blocked her and we don't want to talk to her. My sister later checked the friend's account and thought my wife had just told everyone and had forgotten to tell me when she first called me with the details. But after speaking with my mother-in-law and other friends, she told me the same story. Also, my mother-in-law, the friend I spoke with, and another acquaintance told me that when I phoned my wife, she said, "Screw it. I'm telling him right now." She was really keen to do it. When we got back home, my wife and I had another chat, but I already knew most of the details. Her side of the story was basically the same as what my sister and the friend told me. She said sorry again and insisted that I was her top priority and that this was one of the worst things she had ever done. My wife and I spoke about it again on our way back home. I already knew most of the details, but she told me her side of the story, which was basically the same as what my sister and my friend had told me. She said sorry over and over again and said that I was her top priority and that this was one of the worst things she had ever done. Because of what she said, we've booked a couples counseling session for next week. She thinks I need a place to say everything I'm thinking, even though I don't think I need to. She's worried that I'm holding everything in and that I forgave her too quickly. To be honest, I'm already willing to forgive her and think of this as a one-time thing, because she cares about how I feel. We also went to see our first obstetrician, not just because it's the right thing to do, but also because I was warned by loads of people about the dangers of miscarriages in the first trimester. The doctor said it was a bit early for an appointment, and my wife's last period was. My wife is pregnant, which we found out after a lot of tests. The doctor said it was a little early for an appointment, but it was about 6 weeks since her last period. Everything seems to be going okay so far. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Lily,